So now a little analysis here. So I'm going to draw a line where you're aiming that club. All right. Let's watch what's happening here. Oh yeah, you need to get closer, get closer. So that ball actually launched a little bit to the right of that target line, and then we know it ended up to the left. Okay? So when we talk about that swing path, right, and you had noticed that you sliced the ball a lot, we don't see a huge, noticeable, major out to in swing going on here. So I want to bring up a tour player right next to you. Now that doesn't mean sometimes you don't do a little bit of it or a little more of it than others, but so this is Adam Scott on the right hand side. And I'm going to draw a line where he's aiming to. And I'm drawing his line just parallel to the stick on the ground. Okay? So I'm going to draw a line on his backswing here. When he's perpendicular to the ground, when I think he is, I'm going to put a line straight down his shaft. Okay? Now, if Adam Scott were to make a downswing on that exact same line, he would miss the ball, wouldn't he? Okay? So what he's going to do is, as he makes his downswing, his club head is not going to be on that line. He's going to change his swing plane a little bit and come a little bit underneath it. Okay? And then when he gets down here, where his club is parallel to the ground, see the club head's a little inside of his hands? If his club head was right on his hand line, then his shaft would be parallel to his target line. Does that make sense how I say that? So if his club was perfectly parallel to the target line, he would be in position, unless he changes something, he would be in position to hit the ball perfectly straight up the target line. Does that make sense? But since his club head is a little bit inside and the butt end is pointing a little to the right, he's actually setting himself up to come at the ball a little bit more from the inside to start the ball off to the right. Does that make sense? So let's watch it. Now, it doesn't mean that he couldn't make a change at the bottom. See, he's coming from the inside there, and then he strikes it, and there it goes. It starts off to the right a little bit. Now, his ball probably drew back to the left, because of what we talked about earlier out on the range, where the toe is in the process of passing the heel, and it's going to put a little bit of draw spin on the ball. Okay. So far making sense as to why he's doing what he's doing? Okay. So let's watch you. So see right here, we talked about the idea of what on plane would be, so the club would be parallel to our target line. See, your club head's a little bit inside of your hands, so you're getting set up to probably be a little bit flatter in your backswing than he was. So now I'm kind of guessing a little bit that you're about perpendicular to the ground here. So when I draw this line down your shaft, what's that? You're a little teeny bit, not a lot, just a little bit outside of it. So if you made your downswing the same on that same plane, you would also miss the ball but the other side, right? So somebody who brings the club back a little bit flat, and by the way, you're in the little bit flat range, meaning where it is right now, I have guys that are zero handicappers that have the same type of a look, okay? So it's not like, oh boy, this is major necessarily. But it's going to be easier for you to get back to the ball if you come a little bit on top of that plane rather than under it. Because your body is in the way, it's not that easy to come underneath the plane for somebody who's a little bit flat. Some people can do it, and since you're not all that flat, you might do it. But most people that bring it back a little bit flat come a little bit over it. But let's watch it. See how it looks like you're moving your hands towards the target a little bit? Towards the target line, I mean? Yeah, so you're going to come a little bit over that line. So now when you get to parallel to the ground, right, you're pretty much parallel to your target line. So you're pretty much set to make contact with the ball pretty square, right? And on this one, so your club is coming from inside the target line. and you're going to get on the target line a little bit earlier than Adam Scott did, so you're not going to hit it as much from the inside. And it looks like maybe you caught the toe, and that's why the club face opened and the ball started to the right a little bit. But a pretty good shot. So we're not in the range of this may not be the priority. Okay? And judging by the contact you're making out there, we want to probably deal with that angle of attack issue we talked about. So we're going to switch now to the face-on view. Okay? So we'll bring up your other swing. And I'm going to use Rory McIlroy here. Okay. So let's just talk about a fundamentally sound, perfect golf swing in Rory for the most part. Okay. When he sets up to the ball, his right shoulder is lower than his left because his right hand is on the club lower than his left. And if he was going to do everything from a really good, efficient anatomical standpoint, he would have his spine tilted a little bit like this, just like it is. His spine would not be straight up and out. It would have a slight tilt. Okay. He's going to swing his club using his shoulders. I'm going to put a line behind the ball. Using his shoulders and hips turning. And so because he just turns his shoulders and his hips, his head started off behind the ball because he had a little bit of a tilt to his spine. Does that make sense how I said that? So as he turns back, his overall spine tilt or angle of his torso for the most part is tilted a little bit. So he's got that, we call that like a pivot position, right? So he's leaning a little bit away from the target, right? As he unwinds again, you'll notice, and I'm going to back up here to his setup again. There's his initial torso angle, and we can also show I put that line right in his sternum. We're going to go ahead and watch what he looks like at impact. See as he gets back towards impact. Notice how the buttons on his shirt are moving well ahead of where he started. And notice that because he's turning his hips and shoulders, he's not using his hands to pop at anything. He has a beautiful looking single lever right here at impact. See his hands are leading that club head, forming a nice lever with his left shoulder. That's our lever in golf right there. That's why a tall person can generate more club head speed, everything else being equal, with a short person, because they have longer arms, right? He's going to strike the ball, and then he's going to strike the turf. And I'm going to show you a little close-up here. See, his club is still in the turf. So he is hitting the ball before the ground. He is descending because he's swinging a circle around his body. So every golf swing, there's some descent to it. But what's actually happening is it's more important that he moves the center of his chest forward and swings the club without adding an extra lever with his wrists to help him achieve that really good strike. So he's got a good angle of attack into the ball. Make sense? Okay. Let's take a look at what you're doing over here. Okay, so let's look at. So you've got the right shoulder lower than the left quite a bit. It looks like a little bit of a tilt there, okay? I'm going to put a line on your sternum. Now, when Rory turned back, because he was truly turning his hips and shoulders, his hips turned, but they did not slide backwards. So that's a good indication. If someone slides their hips backwards and their head doesn't move, what's going to happen is they're going to reverse their spine tilt that they want, and now they're no longer really able to turn too much, so they just pick the club up with their arms. If somebody maintains that tilt and slides their hips back, well, now they're going to just be moving their body a lot too, and it's not as efficient as one of these guys rotating. However, we would rather slide everything than just slide the hips. Because if those hips slide and you change that spine angle, you're all of a sudden in a bad place. It's just bad golfer zone. You know what I mean? So let's watch this. So you see, as your shoulders turn, your hands are moving, right? So you're making a nice turn. You're starting to slide a little bit. So you've got a little bit of a combination of a little bit of a slide and a good turn. Okay. Now you can see that you're maintaining that nice angle of your back. So from that standpoint, it's pretty good. We'd prefer not to have you move quite so much laterally, though. But it's not a reverse pivot or anything. Okay, then you're going to start through. Now remember, that top yellow line is where your sternum was at setup. And you see at impact, your sternum is in roughly the same place. And so the low end of your swing is going to be about the same place as where you started, which was the other side of the ball. Does that make sense? And so you can see the different impact position between you and the best player in the world, right? Arguably. Right? So this is more of a priority, because this was where also we were seeing like more problems. Your direction wasn't, there was really not a problem with the direction too much. But the angle of attack, the solid contact, we want to do a better job with that. And if you look at weight distribution, so look at, if you compare your impact position with Rory's from the ground up, see how he's got more weight in his front foot and his hands are farther forward. Okay. Now you know what's going to be amazing? When we go back out there and we have you do this without a ball, you're going to do really well. When the ball is there, things change. Okay? But the Okay, we're going to work on it. And see, at the end you get in a good place. But can you see how you're kind of like lifting up everything through the end? It looks like you're trying to lift the ball up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot on the golf course.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to send this to you before it gets too long, and then we're going to do something. The impact bag helps us get into the correct impact position. Notice how our weight is forward and hands are forward.
Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for more instructional videos.